Good morning, everybody. Today, I am going to give you some information about your week 3 vocabulary to help you through with your lessons. This is Mrs. Mack here, and I am going to start with your cards, which you usually do in the classroom. So let's take a look and see what we have.
Attain. The climber wanted to attain the goal of being the first person to reach the peak.
Okay, so the climber wanted to attain it. The goal was to be the first person there. If you look at the picture, she is the only person there, which implies that she was the first one. So if she attained it, she was able to achieve that goal. So when you attain something, you achieve it.
Dangling. Dangling means hanging or swinging.
Okay, so the ripe apple was dangling from the end of the branch. It's just kind of hanging there. If you think about girls with long earrings, they kind of dangle from their ears. They hang there. So dangling is our second vocabulary word. Our third one is
hovering. The hummingbird was hovering in front of the flower's feathers.
All right, so if we look at the picture, you'll see that the bird is really close to the flowers, but it's not actually sitting on top of the flower. It is next to it. It's hovering. It's very close to something. I kind of liken this one to Thanksgiving dinner when my family starts to smell all the food that's almost done, but it's not quite there yet. They start to hover in my kitchen. They come to be close to the food so that they don't miss anything. So when you're hovering, you're kind of close to something, you're waiting for something to happen, or you want to get something. You don't want to miss out. Our last word is
Triumph. Winning the state soccer championship was dramatic.
Okay, so those kids worked really hard and had to win all season to get to the state championship, and they were triumphant, or it was a triumph when they won and were first in the state. All right, so those are the 4 words we are working on today. Now, I want to go over and do one more thing with you. And as I said, Mrs. Mack is learning this one new for today too, so let's see how this comes up for you. All right. Okay, so the first word is dangling. What do you sometimes see dangling from a tree after a storm? Well, I thought hard about what might happen to my tree after a big windstorm came through. The the words that I thought of were like branches and things that were kind of hanging, they've been blown apart. So I sometimes see branches dangling or hanging from a tree after a storm. The next question says to circle 2 words that tell how people feel when they attain a goal. So I am going to come here and think about it. We talked about attaining something being something that you achieved or that you reached a goal that was fulfilled. So if I reached a goal that I wanted to fulfill, let's say I wanted 100% on my spelling test, so I worked really hard all week and I got that 100%, I would absolutely be proud of myself. Would I be unhappy if I did something that I worked hard to do? I don't think so. So unhappy doesn't really fit my goal. But let's look over here and see pleased. Would you be pleased with yourself that you had worked hard, you'd put the effort in, and that you were able to have success with what you were aiming for? I think I would also be pleased. Okay, so I would feel proud and pleased if I attained my goal. Describe something that would be a triumph for you. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, I thought very hard about this, and most of you know how I feel about SNAKES. All right, so I gave you my answer. I am very afraid of snakes. A triumph for me would be to be able to walk through the reptile house at the zoo without closing my eyes. I would feel triumphant, or it would be a triumph because it was something that scared me, that was hard for me to do, but I overcame that fear and I was successful in what I wanted to do. So that would be a triumph for me. Number 4 talks about hovering, and it says to draw a picture of a bee hovering above a flower. Now, ladies and gentlemen, remember that Mrs. Mack is not an artist, but I do my best. So I'm going to start by drawing my flower, and I'm doing this on my mouse with my fingers, so you're going to have to be even more patient with my horrible drawing skills. But I think even you can tell that that is a flower. Now, if my bird is hovering, I'm sorry, my bee is hovering next to my flower, he's not sitting on top of my flower. He's not sitting on a petal. He's not on the ground. He's close to it, but not touching it. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to draw a bee with a little head and a big wing and another big wing. All right, so you can tell by looking at this, that is a bee. He is not touching my flower, but he's very close to it. He's hovering next to it. Now, the next thing I wanted to look at was our poem. There are 4 words that have to do with poetry this week, and I just want to review those with you. We're going to start, though, by reading our poem.
The play. When the capitalist first went up, I couldn't breathe. I stayed to see over the earthy crowd of my classmates. My best friend, I got the lead. Saturdays, our blood bursting out of our mouths and we said one laugh. Months later, on the winning stage, we took our laughs to Sarah. My next class, the blood bursting out of our mouths, even touched my hair.
All right, so a stanza is 2 or more lines of poetry that together form a unit of a poem. Draw a box around the second stanza. So if I look here, when the list first went up, I couldn't breathe. I strained to see over the pushy crowd of my classmates. My best friend shrieked, we got the leads. This would be stanza number 1. Stanza number 2 is shown here and it shares that what we do after that, it's a separate entity of the poem. We slap hands, our breath bursting out of our mouths in a joyful yell. So a stanza is that it's kind of like a chapter of a poem. That's a way to think of it. The denotation is the definition of a word. What is the denotation of shrieked? So I want to come back here and find the word shrieked in my poem. And you all know I like orange, so I'm going to put there. When the cast list first went up, I couldn't breathe. I strained to see over the pushy crowd of my classmates. My best friend shrieked, we got the leads. Notice there's an exclamation point here at the end. So using my context clues, she's saying she couldn't breathe. She was straining to see. She's excited. She's nervous. She's worried. So this is an emotional thing. So when I look at shrieked and I look at my exclamation point, her best friend isn't going to say, we got the leads. She's saying it with emotion. We got the leads. She's excited. So in this definition of shrieked means to shout or scream. She's letting everyone know how excited I are. The next word that we want to look at is a connotation. The connotation of a word is a feeling connected with it. Does the word pushy have a positive or negative connotation? All right, again, I want to find the word pushy, but I'm going to change my color. I strained to see over the pushy crowd of my classmates. So think about a time when your classmates were being pushy. Maybe you're trying to line up for recess, or maybe you're trying to all get to the turn-in tray at the same time. Maybe you're all trying to get into your lunch boxes at the same time and get that area sorted so you can get your things for lunch. People tend to push and shove. Most of us do not like that feeling. So in this case, it has a negative connotation. When I think about people being pushy around me, I don't like that. So if people are being pushy around you, they will stop you from doing what you want to do and frustrate you. If you're in an area where there's a lot of people and they're pushing and shoving, then it's frustrating because you can't get done what you want to do. The last one is repetition. When a word or phrase is repeated in a poem, it is called repetition. Circle a phrase in the poem that is repeated. Okay, so again, I'm going to go back and look here for something that is repeated. Whenever the cast list first went up, I couldn't breathe. I strained to see over the pushy crowd of my classmates. My best friend shrieked, "We got the leads." I didn't hear anything the same there. We slap hands, our breath bursting out of our mouths in a joyful yell. Weeks later, on the wooden stage, we take our bows in triumph. The audience claps, their breath bursting out of their mouths in a joyful yell. I kind of remember hearing in a joyful yell somewhere else, so I'm going to go back up and reread. When the cast list first went up, I couldn't breathe. I strained to see over the pushy crowd of my classmates. My best friend shrieked, "We got the lead." We slap hands, our breath bursting out of our mouths. Aha! In a joyful yell. And it asked me to circle this repeated section. And it says the same thing down here. Now, the author repeated that to show that up here, they are letting out a joyful yell because they got the parts and they're excited. Down here, the audience is letting out a joyful yell because they are so excited by the work that they did. All right, boys and girls, I hope that this helps you. You can look back at these words on your assignments if you need help with any of the vocabulary or any of the terms that you come across in your poetry. Let me know if you have any questions, and I hope that this helps. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.